Hi, so here you can see the S7-1500 PLC on my table. Here is the PLC, and this PLC is connected to my laptop. This laptop, there are two programs running. One is in the host machine, that is the laptop itself, and one is the virtual machine. So this is the virtual machine. The virtual machine, I have TIA portal installed in the virtual machine, which has I can see and observe the program which is going on in this PLC in real time. And in the host machine, the MS SQL-Server is installed. So that means with this PLC, I need to connect to two instances in the same host machine. As you can see, there are two Ethernet ports. One is the yellow one is the white one. This yellow one, I am connected directly to the host machine, and that means I am connected to the MS SQL-Server database, and here is the MS SQL-Server Management Studio, which you can see the data I have collected. And then with this white cable, this one, I'm going through the white cable, and here is Ethernet to USB adapter from D-Link, and through this one I'm connected to the virtual machine in the host machine. And so with this white cable, I'm connected to the TIA portal, Siemens TIA portal in the virtual machine. Okay, so two different things, because we have the possibility with two Profinet ports in S7-1500 PLC. I didn't need to use a switch, but in case of maybe S7-1200 or smaller PLCs, you need to have a switch, because then you don't have two Ethernet ports to connect the same PLC to two different instances running in the same machine. All right. Hi, so here is the setup for the test I did to send data from S7-1500 PLC to MS SQL-Server database. Here is my PLC. In my machine, there is VMware, and inside the VMware, the TR portal is installed. So in case of S7-1500 PLC, we have two Ethernet ports. I have utilized one Ethernet port to connect to the virtual machine via Ethernet to USB adapter, and utilize the second Ethernet port to connect directly to my host machine so that I can access the MS SQL server, send data, and do other stuff. Here is the setup. Here is the virtual machine where I'm also connected to the PLC. Right now it's online, and just a little explanation of the code setup here. This is a program which I done as a simulation test. So I am generating some random values for a part, which is this one, and there are 6 different values for this part. So variables, there is string, in real, string, and unsigned double integer inside the variables. After every 5 seconds, it creates some new values and pushes it to the SQL Server database. This simulation I have, basically it's a string, the part ID, and it increments the number here. So if you check here that I have S part ID 1 and 2. The reason is that this is alphanumeric, this is numeric. For each part, the number needs to be incremented. So divide it into 2 and then increment the number and then merge them into 1. So when you get the library, install it, you have to import this one into the code, and then this is the main code from the library, which is actually what is the library that I'm talking. Okay, let's see. For this test, I'm using the PLC Direct SQL library from Igor Vilanda, and you can connect with MS SQL Server or MySQL with this library. It has a very small footprint, only consumes 27 kilobyte of CPU memory. Pretty good documentation for both MS SQL and MySQL. Here is the document. It's open desktop. It gives you a step-by-step instruction of everything what you need to do, how to handle this library, what are these libraries, how to do the installation of MS SQL Server, how to do the configuration, which is the TCP configuration. So I'll enable the port so that the CPU can communicate with the database, firewall permissions, and SQL authentication, and other things, and how we can create the queries. In this case, in this experiment, as we can do several things: select, insert, update, delete. I've only used insert. which is usually the case that the IT will tell we have a database, there is these columns, and please send the columns to the proper IDs. So we need to have the proper exact name of the column ID so we can create the queries to insert new row into the tables. This is what exactly I'm doing in the program. Here, this is the simulation code part here, and this is the instant database of the simulation. Let's have a look here. You will see that after 5 seconds, these values will change. It changed, you see? It changed. And if you go to this one, this is incrementing also the part ID. All right. So there is also one of the most important database here, which is we will also get with the library, which is this one. And there is over 1600 variables in this whole list, which is very extensive. You don't need to know all of them. The first couple of ones are very important. So the first one is connection. This is the IP address. All the 4 subnets are divided into 4 unsigned integer. The IP address of my machine is this. So this is the one. When you want to have a licensed version, the free version runs for 2 hours. For industrial, you need to get a license to pay for it. You insert the license here. And then this is the thing, the CMD, the connect, disconnect, execute query status, and which is say it is connected or not. It's true. We don't have any error, and status, there is no error code. This is good. And this is the most important thing. If the query is working, it shows you here the one row affected. That means it's injecting the values into SQL Server in the database. And here is the authentication. This is the host name. This is the first 3 are absolutely necessary to be correct. The username and the password for the SQL Server. So here we have SQL Server Management Studio, and for this SQL Server Management Studio for my SQL Server, I have set those passwords for those login credentials, and then we need to put exactly one. This is optional. This does not really have any effect. You can just put it for your own. So these first thing is very important. And then what about the table name then? So because we see that in this one we have host name, username, password. Okay, but we are not really pointing to any database, or as I say, this is optional. So how do we connect? So here in the code, let's go and see. This is the part which is very important. Commented here that do not forget to update your table name. So the table name is here, this one. And let's go and check from Server Management Studio. My table name is here. Okay. So right now the program is running, and it sends the data after it creates a query. Then after 5 seconds, it disables the query, and then again goes back to this first state and then second state. And I am using a library of generate function from Siemens library to create the random numbers. So basically the 3 random numbers are going here. So this just randomly adds or subtracts a value between 0 to 1 with a default value. Let's go to our SQL Server Management Studio, and we select the database, right click, select top 1000 rows, and here we go. All this data has been sent from the PLC to the database. So these are the main things, and as I have mentioned that this is the most important one. You can see the status, this one, and then if there's something else, oh yeah, this is the query string. Basically the first query is injected into the database, the query 2 is also there, and after this one, so I would say that until line 36 is very important to know all the different settings of this one. And after that, these ones, so when you have more complicated database and bigger strings and other stuff, so then I think the user might have problems and need to dig into these ones, and of course need to dig into the documentation provided by the author in this website. And in this one, so you need to check the first couple of pages where it says that here supported data types, and yeah, here SQL table 1200 and SQL table 1500, max columns, max rows, and max strings. In case of a bigger database, lots of tables and sending data, there could be issues, and I think we need to look here also. Are we crossing the limits? And the error codes are explained here. If this is the code, for example, 8002, which is a common case, connection timeout, that means the PLC cannot connect to the database. All right. Hope this was useful. Thank you.